tell you a little bit about Pakistan. It's absolutely so. Our first trek is this summer, this July. I'm leading the expedition myself, and I'm really excited about it. So when we're flying in there, we're going to fly into Islamabad, and then we take an internal flight up to Skardu up here, right up into the Karakoram. So it's the same region up here. So it's right up in the heart of the Karakoram. And it's just one of the most remote treks in the world as well. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. So to give you an overview, guys, of the trip, it's a 24-day expedition, and we're actually trekking for 14 days. So it gives you an idea of the remoteness of it. It takes 5 days to get to the start of the trek, and 5 days pretty much to get back. But that journey to get in and out is going to be absolutely epic as well, because we're traveling through one of the most beautiful mountain ranges in the world. And then the trek itself is absolutely stunning. We basically ascend up the Boltoro Glacier to this place called Concordia, which is the meeting of two giant glaciers. And it's that point where you get this panoramic view of some of the most stunning mountains in the world. And then we cross over a high pass and descend out another valley, and then we start going back for another 5 days to back to Ireland. So it's a epic adventure. Okay, so just to get into the meat of it, just for the sake of this talk, guys, I've kind of split it into sections for you guys. So the first 5 days are getting us from Dublin to Askell, which is the trailhead for the trip. And we include international flights in our packages. So we fly Dublin to Doha, and then Doha to Islamabad with Qatar. And that's an overnight flight. And then we arrive into Islamabad, and we spend the night there in a hotel. And you get a bit of time to experience the hustle and bustle of Islamabad. And then the following day, day 3, okay, we take a 1-hour flight to Skardu, which is the kind of regional capital, where we just take a quick flight over the mountains and land there. And then on day 4, we take a rest day in Skardu. Okay? The reason, guys, we have that rest day is that if for any reason the flights get grounded, we need to drive up to Skardu instead on the Karakoram highway. Okay? So just to kind of explain that to you, we have an alternative day 3 and 4 that you drive on the Karakoram highway. So the chances of us not being able to fly are pretty slim, but you guys just need to be aware of that. Okay? Then the following day into Askell, we're in jeeps, and it's a 7-hour drive in a really bumpy road, and then that gets us into the trailhead itself. Okay? Yeah, so it's like really epic to get in there. So the first 6 days on the trail there is basically taking us up to an area called Concordia. And we trek for 6 days on an average of 7 hours of walking. The second day is a rest day, and the rest we're just cruising in. We're following the Boltoro Glacier, so it's fairly steady climbing. It's in if any of you guys have done Everest Basecamp, it's kind of consistently climbing up the valley. And it's quite similar in Pakistan. Just some of the mountains there. It's Boltoro Tower. And the really significant thing is that as you keep walking up the valley, more mountains come into view, and they're all like stunning. These are cathedral towers. This is the spot where we take a rest. I'll tell you a little bit near the end of the talk about the typical days and what's included. This is the Great Trango Tower, which is some of the highest cliffs in the world. And then the Mustaka Tower, which is bigger again. And then that brings us up to kind of the crux, the main highlight of the trip. So on day 12, we walk into Concordia. And Concordia is known, it's got this nickname as the throne room of the mountain gods, because if you get it on a clear day, you're surrounded by just a total panorama of peaks, including 40 mountains over 6,500 meters. And you can see 4 of the 14 mountains which are over 8,000 meters. So for example, obviously you can see K2, but Broad Peak, Gasherbrum Peaks, and it's just one of the most stunning places to visit as a trekker. So that brings us into Concordia. So this is Concordia here, guys, this area here where we set that camp. And then on day 13, we walk to K2 Basecamp itself and extend on to Broad Peak Basecamp. Broad Peak is another one of the 8,000 meter peaks. And then we come back down to Concordia, and then the next day we have a full day just to take in all the views, go for little hikes around, and really just soak up the entire atmosphere. But yeah, it's going to be stunning. Yeah, 12th highest mountain in the world, and Gasherbrum 1 and 2 are there as well, the other 8,000 meter peaks. And then the kind of last section of the trek. So on that, the day 15, we trek onto a place called Ali Camp, which is at the base of the Gondogoro La Pass. And then day 16 is one of our toughest days on the trek, where we cross a snowy pass at 5,600 meters and descend into the Hushe Valley. Okay, and then in the Hushe Valley we have 3 days of kind of 4 to 5 hour hiking to get to the trailhead. And this day is probably one of the toughest on the trek. But after the rest day we have at Concordia and near K2 Basecamp, you're pretty well charged to take this on. It's not by any means a technical pass at all, but it will require the use of crampons and us. I'll have you guys on a rope, but I'll be showing you all those skills out there, and we'll be providing all the crampons and everything you need for that. Okay, so you don't need previous snow and ice experience to take on this trek. Yep, and this is the views from the Gondogoro La Pass, back towards K2 Basecamp. And then this is just a shot of the Hushe Valley, guys, the valley we walk out. So one of the things that's really nice about our itinerary is a lot of companies tend to go in and out the Boltoro Glacier, but we're kind of going in and then coming out another valley, which is really nice. It's something you can't really do at Everest Base Camp, which is really makes this trek super nice. And then, yeah, so as I said, 3 days to get down to the roadhead. And then days 20 to 24, it's getting our way back to Dublin. So it's about a 6-hour drive to get back to Skardu, and then from there we'll fly to Kathmandu. And we have a rest day in Kathmandu, and then the following day we board a flight and get back to Ireland on day 24. But if for any reason, again, the flight is grounded, we'll drive down the Karakoram highway to get back to Islamabad. The chances of the flights being grounded are really, really slim, but we just need to allow time there. But both Skardu and Islamabad are pretty good places to hang out and soak up the atmosphere. I mean, after a trek like this, Islamabad is going to be like landing into Vegas or something like that. You know, you'd be so shocked by the so many people on that, but it'd be an experience. Anyway, so typical day in this expedition. Yeah, I guess quite similar to any of our treks. We're going to wake you around 6, and you'll be packed and ready to go around 7. You'll be in for breakfast, and then we'll start moving at around 8 or 8:30. There's always a little bit of faffing on these kind of treks. And then we'll get going, and depending on the length of trek we'll walk, have a packed lunch on the way, or we'll get to our next camp for a hot lunch. We walk at a really slow pace. It's really, really important at altitude that you move very, very slowly. And there'll be lots of time for taking photographs and having the chats with the other people on the expedition, and also our local staff from the region. So yeah, we include all the accommodation, guys, and meals. Everything is inclusive on our trips. So we'll be giving you like all your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you'll just carry some snacks with you guys to kind of keep you fueled in between those main meals. And we can accommodate any dietary requirements you have. So if you're celiac or vegetarian or vegan, this part of the world is absolutely the best for that kind of food anyway. And the accommodation, most people, so we'll be putting you in twin rooms in hotels and guest houses, and then you'll be sharing a 3-person tent between 2 people. Okay, and about 60 to 70% of our people sign up as individuals. So if that's the case, we'll pair you up with someone of the same gender in the rooms and tents. Or if you sign up as a couple or a pair of friends, you can decide who you want to share with, or you can share with the person you're signing up with. Okay? Yeah, and it's a fully supported expedition. So I'm going to chat to you guys about gear. But in a nutshell, guys, on our treks, you just carry a 30-liter backpack with everything you need for the day. And then you'll have a duffel that you'll be giving to our support team, which is a team of porters in this case. And they carry the bulk of your gear that you don't need on a daily basis. So you'll have things like your sleeping bag and your extra clothes there. Okay, so yeah, discuss the food, that's all included. So acute mountain sickness, guys. So K2 Basecamp, you're ascending up. The highest point is a pass, which is just under 5,600 meters. So the most important thing for you guys to focus on is the preventives. What's going to stop you getting altitude sickness, and it's really it's something that you should kind of take a very simple approach to. The higher you go into the atmosphere, the higher altitude you're at, the harder it is to breathe and function. So you just need to counteract that by moving a lot slower. So the pace that you're actually walking on needs to be really, really slow. So when you're actually walking, you'd walk at, you know, especially the higher elevations, about a third of the pace that you'd walk at in Ireland at a lower elevation. That's really, really important. And then the other next more important thing is the itinerary. So we have 14 days of trekking, and you need that amount of time to acclimatize to this kind of elevation. So it's very, very important. There's no jumps in the itinerary and the height that you're doing. That's essential. And then obviously you need to drink lots and lots of water. Between 4 and 6 liters of water a day is ideal. And then you need to eat well and sleep well. The eat well and sleep well thing is more just for your general mood than have any connection to altitude sickness. But you know yourselves, even if you're walking around town here today, if you don't eat or sleep well, you're not going to be in the best of form, feel really tired, and yeah, okay. And the weather. So the mountains in the Karakoram, like K2, is notorious for having really violent and bad weather. It doesn't affect you as much walking along the valley. The big things that are going to catch you out in this part of the world is it's quite dry and arid, and the sun is extremely strong. So you need to protect yourself really, really well from the sun. Make sure your airway is protected. You're stopping dust going in there. And you can expect temperatures during the day of kind of up to 30 degrees. Even at the higher elevations, it can get quite warm. And then at nighttime, then depending on the altitude, we're camping from about 3,000 meters all the way up to 5,000. It'll get gradually colder. Okay, but I'm going to talk to you guys about gear. It's really, really manageable with the right stuff. If you get the right sleeping bag, you won't have a problem. Yeah, so your fitness and training, guys. So for us, this is a demanding trek. So as a general guide, if you're comfortable walking in the Irish Hills for 7 hours, 2 days in a row, you'll have the required fitness to take on this trek. Okay, it's not. It's all about being able to go for a long time, slow and steady. You don't need to be like super fit or super strong on the gym or be able to do anything crazy like that. You just need to be able to keep going at a slow pace and have a bit of at certain times have a bit of mental stubbornness to get you through kind of times you're finding it a little bit harder. If it is something that if we have novice trekkers thinking about coming on something like this, we will be telling them to get out and hike, twice a month, if not a little bit more. Try and hit the gym as much as possible. Any kind of cardiovascular or strength training will really help you, but it really depends where your fitness is at the moment to how much more training you need to do. If you're out in the hills in Ireland and you're enjoying that and you're able to hike for kind of a good long period of time, then you probably don't need to do a huge amount more training. The main advantage of our expeditions, one of our unique offerings, is we hold pre-departure weekends in Glendalough 2 months before all of our treks. So you'll meet the expedition leader and doctor that are going with you, and they'll be able to give you tailored advice on your fitness and your equipment. They're not fitness tests, okay? Sometimes people get a bit nervous ahead of these weekends thinking we're going to do bleep tests or this kind of thing. It's nothing like that. We just give you all the information you need to prepare you properly, and then we all go out and do a hike on Saturday and then again on Sunday. And just if you have any questions, or maybe if you're not quite there with your fitness, we give you some solid advice on how to bring that up in the last 8 weeks before departure. All right. Yeah. So guys, this shot, we didn't take it in K2 Basecamp Trek. It's not a technical trek. If you can walk, put one foot in front of the other for a long period of time, you have the required skill set to do K2 Basecamp. Okay. The one thing I would say about K2 Basecamp, this trek, is that it's like, ideally, if you've done something before, like if you were facing into your first trek and you're flexible on what to do, I might recommend something like Machu Picchu or Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro first. If you really want to do this one first, then you can absolutely do it. But it's just a little bit more wild and it's quite a long trip. So it's up to you guys. But like, to be honest, if you said you're going to do this first, I'd be like, yeah, totally go for it. But if you had a long list, some of the other shorter ones might make sense first. And fabulous thing about all these expeditions is meeting other like-minded people, both people traveling with you from Ireland, our guide and doctor, and then also the Pakistani people from the Boltoro region are reputed some of the most friendly people in the world. To get to know them, their way of life and culture is really what make these trips so special.